Thank you for joining us today on 10 Minutes with the Artist, an episodic series that explores the art practice and the personal vision that guides artists. On today's episode, we're very proud to have Nathan Eversman, who is completing his thesis in architecture at North Dakota State University. We invited him here today to speak about his research and the completion of artifacts in preparation for his defense. Nathan's work is created from elements that, when combined, merge into an experience aimed at reconnecting with the human condition. His work looks backwards for inspiration, but uses the present moment, the light flooding into the room, to help his work take shape and reveal a sense of place that is about healing and connection. I'm Anthony Ferris, and this is 10 Minutes with the Artist. Nathan, thank you so very much for joining us today on 10 Minutes with the Artist.
Thanks for having me.
I was curious if the type of tree you're illustrating matters, and if it tells a story.
It matters in a sense that it connects my artifact to the site that I'm actually designing the architecture, which comes through this artifact in. So it kind of contextualizes the artifact to this park in Oregon. As far as does it matter what the tree is like eliciting a response out of this artifact, I'd say it doesn't really matter because the tree is there as more of a comparison, a personal comparison to nature as you're walking through this experience.
Okay. Why is a person integral to this piece and maybe this experience?
They're integral to the piece as far as I don't know, do you think you could rephrase that maybe a little bit?
Well, so you have this static object that people are walking through, and they're supposed to interact in a certain way. And there's a bunch of different, it becomes its own sort of environment. Mm-hmm. So sometimes when you go to an art museum or something like that, you're just like looking at a work and you can look at it and it could be a static thing. But for this, it seems like you've created an experience.
Yeah, actually it's almost like an installation piece where you've got these 4 panels, 2 of them on the ground and then 2 of them hanging in the air. And the panels themselves create this pathway or journey for the person. And the end of the pathway is highlighted by this tree shadow that's cast off these fragmented panels. So the person very much needs to be experiencing and journeying through this in order to get the sense of that this artifact is trying to kind of put nature in a different perspective, kind of using like modern techniques, like using modern technology, such as like this lighting that casts the shadow of a tree and your figure in the middle of this tree, and also kind of like these framing devices, using technology as an instrument to kind of frame nature in a new way that kind of creates a new understanding of the world around you.
Were there any specific rituals or historical sort of things that sort of inspired this premise of interacting in this way through going in a journey?
Yeah. On my site, there's a historical connection to the Chinook culture. They actually used to live where I'm designing this architecture, and this artifact itself kind of does create like a ritualistic or ceremonial kind of experience as you walk through it, and that is kind of paying homage to this culture that once inhabited this site. It also pays homage to them by casting that shadow of the cedar tree. Cedar was a huge element that they used in their ceremonies. They used for healing purposes. So it's got several connections in that way, and then also the fact that there are 4 panels also kind of connects to their reverence for the sacred number 4 as well.
Okay. So one thing that I think is really interesting is that the tree is indicated in a way, and it's large, but it's not like necessarily as large as a regular tree, but it is monumental in a way that's different than the human form. And so you got that part of nature sort of represented. And so I was kind of curious how you felt about nature, whether or not you felt that it was immense, if it was intimate, or how you were thinking about nature.
I guess it's trying to depict nature as like an intimate relationship that we have, and especially in terms of healing, and physically healing as well. You know, the fact that the presence of nature at some scale in this artifact is kind of representative of being aware of your surroundings, you know, especially after when you have like an injury or something. You really got to be aware of your surroundings, aware of your environment, how it affects your day-to-day life, you know, no matter how small or large the injury is. So that's why the nature is such a prevalent thing. It just kind of creates an awareness, almost like a reverence for it as well.
I guess one thing that I sort of felt about the work is sort of a sense of isolation, because the tree wasn't actually there, right? It was a frame for a tree, and a lot of the area that this person's navigating is actually empty, and they're filling it themselves. And so I was wondering how isolation or emptiness sort of fits into your concept.
Kind of an isolated space in this installation really helps the person. It kind of creates like a contemplative or meditative space, which is really a large part of, you know, starting on a journey to healing. You're finding the help for healing. You kind of need that meditative state where you can really self-evaluate yourself and be able to articulate the way you feel, you know, to a professional to get help.
Okay, yeah. So at the end of our talk, we like to ask a couple of questions about your creative practice. And so I was wondering what time of day you feel like you're most creative.
It's really sporadic and random. It's not so much the time of the day, it's what in my daily life kind of sparks creativity all of a sudden. You know, I'll be reading an article or I'll see a picture and all of a sudden I'll get an idea and immediately jump to the sketchbook, and if it's really something I want to tease out, then I'll take it even further.
I feel like this is really inspiring for you right now, and I just appreciate you staying with us instead of going and creating something. So do you listen to music or radio or anything like that while you're making work?
Yeah, all the time.
Okay.
All sorts of music. I really couldn't put a genre to what I listen to, but when I'm really trying to get down and creative, it's movie soundtracks.
Okay. Are you reading anything right now?
I read a lot of things all the time, I guess, this semester, but is anything specific for leisure? No, not really.
Okay. What did you think was the most challenging thing about working in the medium you were?
Working with this idea of void and negative space, trying to create, you know, an actual figure from these different fragments using the negative space and casting light and, you know, trying to cast a shadow within a shadow that's being cast upon the back of that installation. So.
Okay. And how did you know that you were finished?
To be honest, it's not 100% finished yet. I don't know. I guess there is no sense of really finishing it, you know. There's always something I could do to help elicit different feelings from people. So I guess in a way, it's kind of always incomplete. And the person that experiences it's the one that kind of finishes it themselves from that experience.
Okay. And then I guess my last question for you would be, what's next?
Next is finishing the rest of my thesis and trying to integrate those feelings and those experiences that I was trying to bring about from this artistic expression and kind of bring them throughout my building in ways that kind of help guide people through and help define their healing path as well.
Okay. Well, cool. Well, thank you so very much, Nathan, for joining us today on 10 Minutes with the Artist. And I'd like to thank you all for your time and your interest in the professional practice and the creative explorations happening here at North Dakota State University. So thank you, and for everyone here at the Memorial Union Gallery, keep creative.